שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. Right, we are online, so Shabbat Shalom KLS. Shabbat Shalom, I don't know how many of you are online, apparently no one yet, but you will come along. So let's welcome Shabbat tonight, first by asking you which Shabbat it is.
Friday night.
Friday one. So it's a very special Shabbat today. Well, what happens this week? Well, what's the festival that comes along this week?
Right.
Pesach. So the Shabbat before Pesach is called Shabbat HaGadol, the great Shabbat, and I will explain you later why. And I think there's something for Philip in there, because the Rabbi would come and preach for hours and hours on Pesach. So thank you. I hope you had your dinner already, because it's not going to finish early tonight.
A decent length service.
A decent length service.
A lot of brilliant Firestone.
Yes. Robin, can I ask you to light the Shabbat candles for us tonight, please? Amen. Shabbat Shalom. So I just had a question from Dylan. Service starts at 10:45 tomorrow morning. So if you want to come along, you're welcome. And Shabbat Shalom to you and Michelle and Sandra. So it's very good to have you with us tonight. Right, so we turn to page, the morning here, 70. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. נריה לצור אישנו נקדמה פניו בתודה. נריה לצור אישנו בזמירות נריה לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. 71. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסחו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ. Shalom Aleichem on page 76. So as I was coming to KLS tonight, I had a meeting with Robin, and I was humming a tune, and the tune that she was actually listening to in her car as she was driving to KLS. It's the Debbie Friedman Shalom Aleichem. So we're going to use this Debbie Friedman tonight, because it's kind of a sign that we need to use it tonight. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Amlachim, Akadosh, Akadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Lishalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu, Bachuni Leshalom, Bachuni Leshalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Amlachim, Akadosh, Akadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem Leshalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu, Lai Lai La La Lai, La La Lai, La La Lai, Ya La Lai, La La Lai, Ya La 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 Lai, La La Lai, Ya La 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 Lai, Ya La Lai, La La Lai, Ya La Lai, Ya La Lai, Ya La 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 Lai, La La Lai. I love this melody. It's a very nice one. Turn to page 78. Yedid Nefesh. Soul's beloved, source of mercy, draw to your servant to your will. Let me leap like a deer to stand in awe before your glory. Your love is sweeter than the taste of honey. Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman Meshoch Avdecha El Retzonecha Yarutz Avdecha Kemo Ayal Yishtachave El Mul Adarer Yeravlo Yedidotecha Minofet Suf Vechol Ta'am Yala la 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 la, 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 yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la. Yigalena ufros chaviv alai et sukat shelomar ta'ir eretz mikevodecha nagila v'nismecha bar ma'er ahuv kiva moed v'chonenu ki me'olam yala la 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 yala la 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 yala la 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 yala la 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 yala la 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 yala la 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 yala 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 la 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 yala la 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 yala la ya la la yala la 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 la. It carries on. La 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 ya la ya la ya la into the Shabbat mood. It has to be a time of joy. It has to be a time when we reconnect with ourselves, when we reconnect with the community, and when we get closer to God. And I think there's many reasons to be happy about the day of Shabbat. So let's turn to page 91 now for Lecha Dodi. So it's always a pleasure. Do you know this one? La 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 la. You know, it's a Craig Altman. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pene Shabbat Shabbat nekabela. Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לה 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 לה, לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת כלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת כלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לה 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 לה, לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת כלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת כלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומיורי, אורי אורי שידברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לה 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 לה, לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת כלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת כלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. Please stand. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוכם ונעם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לה 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 לה, לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת כלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת כלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. ברכו את אדוני We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will set the stars and the courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the host of heaven. We praise you, God, whose word makes evening fall. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסור ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. Please stand for the Shema. We're on page 94. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Vahed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם בארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת. Please be seated. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israeli people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, then full of joy we sang together. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותקננו בצרה טובה לפניך. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer, a gracious and merciful God. God our going out and our coming in, that now and always we may have life and peace. We praise you, O God. May your shelter and peace descend on us, and all who dwell on earth. It's time for the Amidah. Adonai sefata tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Emotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מת עם מטריו להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגיא השם, מזיע השמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדום אליו, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיע ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה המתים. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please be seated. And let's read together the next prayer. We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. Page 100. Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. satisfy us with goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts. May all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. And we say together, we give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you were the God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives, which are in your hand, for our souls, which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol ha-shalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol ha-shalom. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai aseh ha-shalom. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. And now we have a few moments for private prayer meditation. Shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Israel, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Israel. Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel. Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel. Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol bnei Adam. Shabbat shalom. I can see we have friends who have joined online. So James, Shabbat shalom to you. It's good to have you with us tonight. Sibyl as well. Shabbat shalom to you, Sibyl. Sandra is here as well. And the Friday night rock service. So Shabbat shalom. If you want to come once, Erev Shabbat, to lead a Friday night rock service, we have a bima for you. So please get in touch with us. It would be great to have a rock Shabbat. I have one of my colleagues in Paris, Rabbi Tom Cohen. He loves playing rock, sometimes he does with some of his friends. He's American, so sometimes his American colleagues come to Paris and they play on Hanukkah, for example. They have a rock Hanukkah event, and they have a new-ish Rabbi, Etienne Kerbet, was ordained a couple of years ago, who plays guitar as well, and they do sometimes. That's really nice. So if you want to come to KLS, you are most welcome. So I've been thinking about Philip when I was writing my sermon tonight, because either Philip falls asleep or he goes to the loo. All this avoidance strategy to avoid listening to my sermons. So in the old days, Philip, and of course you all as well, but a rabbi would only stand up on the bima to give 2 formal sermons on Shabbat Shuvah, which is the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and on this Shabbat, Shabbat HaGadol. Sermon in synagogue were an innovation of a German Reform community, Jewish community in the 19th century, adopted since by the entire Jewish world, but originally there were no sermons on Shabbat service, just the service, and there is bless you. There is a study session on Shabbat morning, part of a traditional service, was deemed enough for people to think about. So both Shabbat Shuvah and Shabbat HaGadol stand at opposite poles of a Jewish year. One is focused on individual salvation, which is just before Yom Kippur, and one focused on national redemption just before Pesach. So we call Shabbat Shuvah, and I'm going to come back to Shabbat HaGadol in a moment, because Shabbat Shuvah, the one before Yom Kippur, because of the Haftarah of the day. If you remember your Haftarah by heart, the book of Hosea, which is read on Shabbat Shuvah, reads, Shuva Yisrael ad Adonai Elohecha, return, O Israel, to the eternal you God. Shuva, the Shuva, which is really the theme of the High Holy Days. So as far as Pesach is concerned, remember there is this injunction in the Haggadah to see ourselves as if we were also in Egypt, and on this process from slavery to redemption. So if we take this injunction upon us, this Shabbat is actually the last Shabbat that they spent in Egypt. That's the last Shabbat they spent before leaving Egypt. The Haftarah chosen for this occasion from the book of Malachi reads the following: Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and terrible day of the eternal Yom Adonai HaGadol ve'Hanorah. So this great and terrible day is, of course, the very day our ancestors departed towards their destiny. You know that Elijah is always invited at the Seder as well, because anytime Elijah is here, because according to the Jewish tradition, Elijah didn't die. So when Elijah comes, usually comes during the Kiddush, it's a kind of opening towards Messianic times. But there's another explanation for Shabbat HaGadol, which I found in the writings of an Italian rabbi of the 13th century called Zedekiah ben Avraham Nadiv. So he wrote the following: It is known as Shabbat HaGadol because on the Shabbat before Pesach, the congregation would sit for a long time listening to the teaching of a rabbi. And the rabbi's teaching covered many topics. The laws of Chametz, of course, very important, what you can't eat on Pesach, the laws of Matzah, the rules of Pesach, all the rules of Pesach and Yom Tov, which is another name for Jewish festival in the Bible, items related to the Exodus from Egypt, etc. And the congregation would not depart for their homes until the teaching was over. Now you understand why I thought about you. And the day is seen in the eyes of the congregation as larger and longer than any other day. Hence it's called the Great Shabbat, Shabbat HaGadol. So that's another explanation which is a bit more funny if you want. Huh? But there's another rabbi, cleverer than the others, who one Shabbat, his name was Tzvi Halberstam, and he served a community in Berlin in the 19th century. So he was there on the Bima on Shabbat HaGadol, and he said nothing. He didn't do any Dvar Torah about Pesach, he didn't talk about Chametz, Matzah, Exodus, nothing. And as you can imagine, even though his congregants were dreading the length of the sermon, they were deeply, deeply offended that he didn't give a sermon on Shabbat HaGadol. So they came to him and they said, why, Rabbi, have you missed the sermon? And he quoted, because he's clever, a passage in the Talmud that says, one should ask questions and expound upon the laws of Pesach 30 days prior to Pesach. And he added, first, the community must ask questions. Only then, I love it, does the rabbi know how to answer. That's kind of reminding you of the Haggadah as well. As of today, no one has asked me a single question about Pesach. So I think I really love this anecdote because it's kind of, it shows a lot about the dynamic between a rabbi and his congregation. Sometimes congregants feel that the sermon is too long and Shabbat becomes gadol, great. And sometimes congregants do not really engage with what the rabbi is saying. Hence, we have here, I think, an early example of rabbinic strike. I'm not going to give a sermon, I'm on strike. Mind you, he was German, he wasn't French, so yeah. So, more seriously now, of all the Jewish festivals, Pesach is probably the one that requires the most forethought, the most planning, the most cleaning, and the most questions. What can we eat? How do we get rid of a physical and spiritual chametz? What does it mean to be free? What does it mean to be Jewish? What do we eat? Why do we eat this weird food on the Seder night? And what to make of the Haggadah, the guideline of the Seder with its 15 steps from slavery to freedom, from the mundane to the sacred? How do we create in our homes and in our communities an experience that is meaningful, uplifting, an experience that will enrich us, and not simply something that needs to be done because we've been doing this for God knows how long. So I think that's the essence of Judaism. Judaism is an inquisitive way of life. We do not take things for granted. We ask questions. So if you on Pesach, we have the Manishtalah, the 4 questions. So this year, if you're coming on the second night of Pesach, I've decided to ask you other questions. So what are the questions that could be asked? Instead of which is a very nice song, but we know the questions and we know the answer. So I'm going to give you a few of them, but actually not 4, but 6, whatever. What have you done or what have you changed since last Pesach to do more to contribute to our world? Let's take the example, you're a Jewish refugee. You live in your country. What 5 things would you take with you and why? If you met Israeli leaders today, what would you ask for? What would you ask for to make Israel your own promised land? What one thing would you add to the Seder plate and why? What lesson of Pesach will you take with you this year and why? What am I doing to be a better person, a better family member, a better Jew, or a more active and committed member of KLS? And I think these questions, I will ask them on the Seder night to be discussed around the tables, because I think, especially on Pesach, which is really, really a festival of questions and answers, we have our kids coming to the Seder, and we encourage them to ask questions. We encourage them to say, so we've got the 4 for the Manishtana, you have also the 4 kids, the 4 kids who, the one who is wise, the one who doesn't know how to ask questions, who was with simple, etc., etc. We've got this, it's all about questioning what's happening on Pesach, what's happening on Pesach, collectively, this festival that talks about us as a community, not simply as individual, because every year we're actually revisiting what it means to be Jewish when you do the Seder. And that's the beauty of it. There's a danger, which is repetition. We repeat things because, we've been doing that for. I remember a very heated conversation once on a Seder when I was still in Strasbourg about two ladies were, arguing about what the gefilte fish that my mother used to do. And of course, my mother did the best gefilte fish in the world. No, it was my mother. And guys, it's Pesach. Huh? But there's a sense of continuity, a sense of familiarity, but there's also a sense of what do I take, individually as part of a community. So there are, of course, many, many more questions that one could ask on Pesach, but let's try to ask some right questions, and let's try to find some meaningful answers that would work for the time being, knowing that, the repetition means that also things change all the time, and that's okay. Thank you.
I'd like to add to the Seder plate, salt beef.
Soul beef. Oh gosh. Soul beef. Did I have salt beef in Egypt? No, I love salt beef. No, really. Or lard.
Mine does banana.
The banana, why?
Because it's the most perfect food it represents. It comes in its own packaging.
Mm-hmm.
It's nutritious. It's everything that one could ask from that's been given to us.
Okay.
And we're so ungrateful for it. We just say banana. You see, you were skeptical.
No. I was trying to make a joke about your ancestor, the monkeys who loved bananas, but I can't find it. But I love, that's a very good point. Yes, it's nutritious, it comes in its own package.
It teaches us that, don't take things for granted.
Yeah.
That's given to us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we've got salt beef and banana.
Soul beef and banana and chips, French fries.
Yeah. All careful, because the Belgians would say they invented it.
Well,
There's an argument with the French.
yeah, it's an argument, but we're bigger, so we win.
I'm just very honest, because I'm really looking forward to hearing those questions, but a question I have is, particularly at Pesach, we talk about coming out of slavery or coming out of, and we were given this gift, and my question would be, why do so many of us put ourselves back into a sort of slavery? Why don't we relish the freedom that people died for or whatever? Why do we continue? I'm not talking about wars or anything. I'm talking about our own personal.
Yes, that's a very, very good question.
Lock ourselves into a form of slavery.
So what do we do of this freedom, and why are we not able to?
Anyway, sorry.
No, it's a very, very good question. Thank you. Yes, I like it. Why do people don't make the best of the freedom? Yes. I read some. Oh gosh, I don't know how to say this in English, but I read a book once about someone was describing his depression, and he said, when you're in a state of depression, you're really, in shackles, and so your world is really tiny. And he said, freedom is to go until the end of your shackles. And I thought, wow. It's true, but at the same time, it's kind of wow. Huh? But there's a very deep question about what it means to be humans. How do we raise our children? Do we raise them to be free, or what would a school do to children? What's the pressure, the peer pressure, the pressure of society, and can we be entirely free? Can we say anything that we have in our mind? In society, no, of course we can't. My freedom ends where yours starts. So there's something in the French Declaration of Rights. One freedom ends when another's freedom begins. Where it's kind of, and I quite like this idea of it's kind of the balance between individual and the collective.
That'd be a good subject for the debate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So we've started, it's good that you mentioned it, Philip, because maybe we can, we've started a discussion group online at KLS, and actually we had only one meeting, so it's Brian. I don't know, Brian, if you're online tonight. I know that you often come on YouTube, so I can't see you tonight, but we had a very, very interesting conversation, and I think the next time is after Pesach. So if you want to join, please let Brian Plasko know, and he will happily give you the link. Thank you. So before the end of the service, of course, the big event is Pesach. So the first night is Wednesday, and you will do Pesach in your homes or with your friends, wherever you're going. The communal Seder is on Thursday evening, starting at 6:30, I think. 6:30. I'm going to take my. I think it's 6:30. I guess if you haven't registered, it's a bit late now.
You were off with COVID last year, weren't you?
Gosh, I had COVID last year. Yes. Yeah, I remember that. Yes. Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah, I remember being on the screen here. It's a bad memory, but it's okay. I don't have COVID this year. I mean, next Friday we have because it's the first Friday of the civil month, we have Shabbat Ruchani, followed by the Chavurah Supper. But you need to bring food kosher at Pesach, and I've prepared a little blurb for the newsletter, and what we can bring, and also we've decided to follow the Sephardi tradition. That's the beauty of being progressive Jews. We're not confined in one tradition. The Sephardi tradition is allows more food on Pesach. So salt beef, yeah. We can't, that's the general kashrut of Kenes. There's no meat. I'm sorry, Philip. Yeah, I know. I love meat as well, so I understand your frustration, but we.
Outside the fence.
And so next Shabbat, 10:45 is. So it's written 11:45. So there's a typo in the newsletter. It's 10:45. Shabbat Chol HaMoed Pesach, and Rebecca Weddell will be here with the choir, and we have prepared a very nice morning for you. So that's next Saturday. So there's no classes during this week because I think it's also the Easter break, the next 2 weeks. And any other? Oh yes, yeah. On Friday the 21st of April, so which is towards the end of the month, because of what's happening in Israel, I really wanted to mark Israel's birthday with a very positive evening. So we are going to have Yom HaAtzmaut at KLS here with our Israeli congregants. We're going to talk about Israel. We're going to talk about the experience of being Israelis. We're going to talk about our expectations and hopes about Israel. So there will be food, obviously, food. So, and we'll do a little bit of, Yom HaZikaron to Yom HaAtzmaut service before. So it won't be a regular Erev Shabbat service. It will be an evening to mark Israel's 75th anniversary. And the following week, we are going to have a large Liberal Judaism-wide online event to celebrate Israel's 75th birthday. Because we thought, there's so much negativity at the moment about Israel, and we really didn't want to as a community, as Jews, we really don't want to leave the narrative, a conversation about Israel to be taken up by more radical groups, because if you look at all the people who went demonstrating in the streets in Israel, and they actually forced Netanyahu to withdraw, postpone his politics, it's great. So there is a very lively and positive aspect of Israel which we really want to nurture. And it's not, when you look at the people doing that, it's people from all sides of a political or religious spectrum. It's not only progressive Jews, it's really all sides of society. Right. Okay, so because Neil is here tonight, I'm not going to skip Valenu. I'm not allowed to skip it. So when I have Neil and Sandra...
Let Sandra know.
Oh, Sandra is here as well. Oh, Mubarak is here as well online. So Mubarak is still in Pakistan. My God, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. You're really committed. And Daniel is here as well, so it's really good to have you all with us. So let's go to page 520. 520. And I will ask you to stand, please. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ויראת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא היא אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. So on this Shabbat, we remember my mother, Marie Simon, passed away 5 years ago now. We remember Louis and Sadie Grigg, the parents of Mara Alfin. And we also remember Molly Simon, the mother of Fleur Standring. Is there any other name you would like to remember? Zichronam livracha, their memory be a blessing. And we say together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemeh Rabba, be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, בחיי כל ובימי ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתחומה ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה בריחו, לאלה מן כל ביחתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן ועלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל בני אדם, ואמרו אמן. Please be seated. So let's finish with the Yigdal. So I think the melody that we use here, is this one? Yeah, okay. Page 5 to 6. Yigdal Elohim chai v'yishtahabah, נמצא ואין עת אל מציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, דלג וגם אין סוף לאחדותו. אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא דהרור אליו קדושתו, קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו. הינו אדון עולם לכל נוצר, יורה גדולתו ומלכותו, שפע נבואתו נתנו אל, אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו. לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד, נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל, על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו. לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו, דתו לעולמים לזולתו. צופה ויודע סתרנו, מביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו. גומר לאיש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לרשע רע כרישתו. ישבור לקץ ימים על כל בשר רוחו, לפדות בך כקץ ישועתו. חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו. חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו. Please stand. מי ששיתקן את שמו בבית הזה ובביתכם, הוא ישכים ביניכם אהבה ואחווה ושלום ורעות. May the one whose presence dwells in this synagogue and in your homes cause love and harmony, peace and friendship to dwell among us. Let us say Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to you online. On your way to the Kiddushim, can I ask you to take a few bottles of the juice and to